Today I'm not going to show you what to click. I'm going to explain why I made every compositing decision. In the next few minutes you will learn how to create this cinematic sandstorm effects entirely in the video app, from the background placement to the final result. So without any further ado, let's get started. So first I added the group folder, then I imported the desert as the landscape. I then resized it to fit the default aspect ratio. Next I added a gradient layer as the sky. I'm going to tweak the color too, which represents the sky color, and change it to something dusty, then lower the blending a bit. Next I added the shape marks to feather the edges of the desert, and with that done I renamed the group landscape. And now time to add the main footage. First I added the shape marks to mask out the unwanted areas. I then moved the marks above the transformation panel so we can move it freely without getting it cropped off. And now I'm going to make the necessary adjustment to the marks and properly resize the subject. Next I added the chroma key to remove the green background. I used the color picker to sample the background color, and then I adjusted the red, blue and alpha clip until I got a clean cutout of the subject. The next step is where I start making the character look a little bit dusty, and to achieve that I first added the basic correction. I increased the temperature to get a warm yellow tone, then I tweaked the contrast, shadows and black to brighten the subject a little. Next we are going to add the buildings, and that's to create some depth in front of the character. I'm also going to properly align them to fit the composition, and as always you can find all these assets in the description below. Now that everything is in place, I'm going to add the RGB curve to control the brightness and exposure of the buildings. And just like we did earlier, I'm also going to use the basic correction to give them a warm look and restore some brightness. And then I'm going to add the Gaussian blur to make the building less sharper than it is. And with that done, I think it looks good, but a little bit too soft. And to fix that, I'm going to add the unshaped marks. Then I will increase the amount and radius to restore some sharpness, and with that done, we are good to go. And next I'm going to import a smoke layer, and the main purpose of this layer is to create a dusty atmosphere. And one of the things I did to achieve that was to add the basic correction and introduce some warm tones. Now this made the white smoke look dusty and much more realistic. And for the next step of this composition, I'm going to add some light drifting dust between the buildings. Now this helps improve the realism of the sandstorm. I will stretch the dust layer to fill the desert area. And speaking of the desert, I'm going to add the RGB curve. I bring down the midpoint area to increase the contrast and adjusting the exposure at the same time. I will also add a bit of shadows to it. And with that done, here's a before and after. To add even more dusty atmosphere, especially behind the character, I'm going to go to the fill property and add the smoke layer. Then I will adjust the intensity, speed, and finally change the color so it matches the lighting of the environment. And now time to add the rising sandstorm. For this clip, I'm going to do something a little bit different with the blending mode. So instead of using the screen, we are going to use the lighting. And that's because the lighting mode blends much better with our current composition. And now I'm going to do something very simple to create the illusion of the sandstorm approaching. I will add keyframe to the scale and position, then gradually increase the size of the sandstorm over time. So you might notice that increasing the size of the sandstorm doesn't make much visible difference, and that's because the desert landscape is sitting directly on top of the sandstorm. And to fix that, we are going to use a simple trick, and that's keyframing the max center to create more breathing room as the sandstorm approaches. And with this simple technique, we are able to sell the illusion of the sandstorm moving towards the camera. Next, I will duplicate the smoke layer and place it in front of the sandstorm to add more dust to the atmosphere. To add more realism to it, I'm going to use the dust impact effects. I will place the layer in front of the sandstorm, then make the necessary adjustment with the size and position. To match the color of the sandstorm, I will use the RGB curve until everything blends naturally. Next, I will also animate the position and scale so the dust gradually grows over time. And with that done, I will apply some color grading to make the subject look even dustier. Then I will add a Gaussian blur to help blend the subject naturally into the scene. And after that, I will apply the unshaped marks to restore the lost edges and bring back a little bit contrast to the subject. To make everything feel even more realistic, I added the grain effect. Now this helps match the texture across the entire shot and sells the illusion that the entire elements were captured together. And next, I added the shake effect to create some vibration and make the scene feel more chaotic. And finally, I applied the overall color grading to blend all the elements together and enhance the color tone of the scene. Then I added the color LUT and selected the one that works best for this composition. And just like that, that's how I was able to create this cinematic sandstorm effect using Node Video app. So thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.